The Indiana Fever knew heading into this game that the Golden State Valkyries would be aggressive. Recently, one topic has been discussed by everyone in the league. Caitlin Clark may be slowed down by applying pressure, bumping, trapping, and frustrating her before she feels comfortable. However, Tiffany Hayes and the Valkyries discovered the hard way that sometimes the worst thing you can do is wake Caitlin Clark. Because the whole atmosphere of the game changes when she becomes emotional and begins responding. And that is precisely what took place.
Clark pulling up from long range. Tiffany Hayes turning around looking at CC. Caitlin Clark says, let's go. Me and you right now. And as soon as that occurred, Tiffany Hayes couldn't hit a layup for the rest of the game.
Holy shit, they can't hit a layup to save their life. They had open shots. They had drives to the basket. They were way off.
Tiffany Hayes was in the kitchen early in the first quarter. After hitting a hard shot and attacking the rim, she began clapping in Caitlin Clark's face after one bucket. The jawing was instantly captured by the cameras. It was obvious that this would not be a typical regular season match for very long. Both benches were chatting, the audience began to buzz, and Caitlin Clark's appearance abruptly changed. Angry, dangerous, and imprisoned.
Caitlin Clark makes her triumphant return. She was this close to getting that double-double. You know what Stephanie White did? She said, hey, you, Missy, come here. Sit down right next to me on the bench. No double-double for you, Caitlin.
Type Caitlin Clark GOAT 100% in the comment section right now if you're a true admirer of Caitlin Clark and think she's already become the league's face.
WNBA players hate Caitlin Clark. This is to end the first half. Janelle Saloon gives her a nice shove in the back, gets a rebound, gives her a little bit of an elbow. Both players were given technicals for this. I don't think either should have received technicals. Physical basketball.
Then the moment that everyone is talking about arrived. When Caitlin Clark noticed Tiffany Hayes in front of her after crossing half court, she immediately threw an absurd logo 3 in her face. Splash. It wasn't simply the shot that caused the stadium to blow up. It was what followed. Clark approached Hayes, looked down at her, and began to speak. Fans think she spoke the icy words, "I am the real deal." At that point, the momentum was immediately apparent. The Valkyries seemed shaken after that. Tiffany Hayes had a great start to the game, but her flow entirely vanished when the trash yelling intensified. Layups began to disappear. The number of forced shots began to mount. Indiana's defense became more assertive. And Caitlin Clark became an absolute nightmare.
This happened. They called it a flagrant foul. Veronica Burton goes to the line, shoots a free throw, misses the free throw. The Indiana Fever weren't on the floor while she missed the free throw. So what do? They give Veronica Burton 2 extra free throws. I'm telling you, these refs are incapable.
This wasn't just logo 3s, which is frightening. This was Caitlin Clark's whole package. Tough defense, pull-up bombs, thread-the-needle passes, mid-range fadeaways, transition assaults, and even hard screens. She ended with 22 points and 9 assists, dominating the game's tempo and almost missing another double-double. The fact that she was doing it against Doyle Oko made it even more insane. Golden State has one of the league's most aggressive defensive strategies going into this game. The Valkyries coaches freely acknowledged before the game that they intended to physically abuse Clark and throw her off of rhythm. Rather, it made her seem stronger.
Caitlin Clark and the Fever showed out in the third quarter. Aaliyah Boston, 20 points on 8 of 15, 16 boards, 3 blocks. And Caitlin Clark, 17 of 15, 4 of 9 from three-point range, 22, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. Her three-point shot is...
After the game, one commentator said that Clark seemed to have given up on maintaining her composure and civility. Another person likened her mindset to that of Kobe Bryant, stating that she seemed more unstoppable as the game became more intense. To be honest, it's difficult to disagree. After this performance, even the national dialogue began to shift. Sports programs have begun to inquire as to whether Caitlin Clark is already in the running for MVP this year. She is now leading the league in assists, close to the top in scoring, and once again changing the definition of WNBA range. There has never been another guard who consistently bends defenses this far from the hoop, according to pundits and former players. And Golden State immediately discovered that. The Valkyries persisted in attempting to turn defenders against her. It didn't matter. Set her up. It didn't matter. Engage in physical play. It didn't matter. Clark responded with another dagger each time they believed they were in charge. However, offense wasn't the main aspect of the game. Fans were most taken aback by Caitlin's roughness. Near halftime in the second quarter, players shoved each other after making contact under the hoop. Clark refused not give up for a single second. There were technical fouls. Fever's teammates came in to help her as soon as the players had to be separated. The audience became much more energized at that point. It seemed symbolic, to be honest. Critics continued to claim for months that Caitlin Clark has trouble with physical basketball, that she becomes irritated, and that teams may harass her. Not this evening. It looked different tonight. Tonight seemed to be a superstar at last accepting the turbulence rather than running away from it. The Valkyries had no response after that. What transpired after the game added even more intrigue to the whole issue. Because at the Music post-game press conference, Tiffany Hayes seemed irritated rather than just acknowledging that Caitlin Clark dominated. Hayes attempted to minimize the Fever offensive and Clark's performance when reporters questioned them, claiming that the Valkyries just needed to make minor adjustments and that the defeat was their fault. However, supporters quickly objected to it. Because these were more than minor errors. This was Caitlin Clark dominating the match.
This may have been the night that Caitlin Clark put the league on notice. I've had enough of y'all's bullshit.
You don't mistakenly stop somebody from pulling up from 30 feet, a player who is dominating pace, pulling defenders halfway across the floor, and unleashing full-court rockets is not unintentionally stopped. You have to acknowledge that greatness is greatness at some time. And that's what caused the internet response to blow up. Immediately, videos showing Clark's logo 3 times in Tiffany Hayes' face appeared on social media. The stare-down was often shown on sports pages. It was dubbed one of the coldest moments of the season by fans. Even more prominent figures in the sports media began discussing how Caitlin Clark's mental state had changed this year. Because last season, everyone sought to test this smiling rookie. This seemed to be a celebrity who is sick of being treated disrespectfully. To be honest, the statistics support that. In the WNBA, Clark is having one of the best defensive beginnings we've ever seen from a guard. She's leading the league in assists, scoring at a high level, and making shots that totally ruin defensive strategies. It doesn't matter that teams are suddenly picking her up close to half court. She is scary because of this. She blasts past opponents as soon as they begin to push higher. She leaps from the logo as soon as they fall off. She shoots a laser pass to an open teammate as soon as they capture her. After attempting every defensive strategy imaginable, Golden State ultimately ran out of options. Meanwhile, as the game became more intense, Caitlin continued to become stronger. For the rest of the league, that is the frightening part.
This game would absolutely sell out. People bought tickets thinking Kate Martin was going to be in this game.
Even the physical experiences began to benefit her psychologically. Near halftime, a severe collision resulted in technical fouls. In another play, Clark built a huge screen that crushed a defender, leading to a flagrant call. The audience exploded. Players from Fever came to her defense. And following that, Clark played even more aggressively rather than retreating. She put more effort into attacking the rim. She continued to speak garbage. She had more swagger when she played. She looked straight at the Valkyries bench at one point, and after another deep 3, she even seemed to chuckle. You could see Golden State had lost control of the situation at that point. We also need to discuss how crucial the supporting cast was to this victory, despite all the headlines surrounding Caitlin. While Clark extended the court, Aaliyah Boston dominated the paint with 20 points and 16 rebounds. Despite sometimes having trouble with efficiency, Kelsey Mitchell contributed 19 points. Off the bench, Sophie Cunningham provided the Fever a lot of energy. Additionally, Raven Johnson's tenacity and defensive pressure drastically altered the second half's tempo. However, Caitlin Clark was the true owner of this game. After the game, an expert said that Clark seemed to have truly embraced his role as the antagonist for the first time this season. She addressed the trash talk head-on rather than ignoring it. She replied to heavy fouls with baskets rather than being silent. Additionally, she frightened defenders rather than allowing them to do so. That's a risky development because the rest of the WNBA may be in major trouble if Caitlin Clark combines exceptional playmaking with this sort of killing attitude. You can already see the terror spreading around the league.
Caitlin Clark through 57 games is more points than Diana Taurasi, more assists than anyone, more threes than anyone.
Coaches are candidly talking about how hard it is to protect her range. The attention she receives irritates the players. Every time she crosses half court, the crowd erupts, and each momentous occasion just serves to magnify music. The Tiffany Hayes incident became viral online because of this. Fans believed that Hayes attempted to emotionally confront Clark, to which Clark retaliated by taking over the whole game. One of the most intense Caitlin Clark moments we've seen this season was created by the Logo 3, the stare down, the me and you energy, the physicality, the trash talk, and the dominance. To be honest, this game may end up being the one that people remember later in the year and say, this was the night Caitlin Clark stopped trying to fit into the WNBA and started reminding everybody that she's becoming the face of it. Do you believe that awakening Caitlin Clark's aggressive side was a grave error on Tiffany Hayes' part, or is this just the start of Clark taking over the whole WNBA?